welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching TV47 Breakfast, and being a Thursday, we talk matters health. This morning, we want to shine a spotlight on seizures, and we'll be delving into epilepsy in general, just to understand what epilepsy is, the myths that still exist, how we can do away with the stigma, and how parents and, of course, teachers can help children living with epilepsy. What every parent should know as well. That is what we're talking about this morning. And what a privilege to have doctors in studio this morning to help us understand really everything around epilepsy. If you do have a question, of course, we do encourage you to be part of this conversation through our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X, it's TV47 Digital. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast and you can tag me at Annie_Odida. Also, our WhatsApp line is active, 0793 267 279. I know it's a lot, but if you also want to call in live, there will be a number on your screen. You can use that number to call in live if you do have a question for the two doctors that we have in studio this morning. I do have, just right next to me is Dr. Phyllis Kimani. She's also an epilepsy advocate. She'll be telling us more about that. And of course, at the very end is Dr. Nicholas Otieno Okeyo. He is a clinical epileptologist. I hope I haven't butchered that, Daktari. Karibuni sana, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hey, Daktari, look lovely. It's like you guys color coordinated. I see a lot of maroon going on here. You're well?
Very well, thank you.
I want us to start with definitions, as always, because we want to, help the parents and our viewers understand everything that you're talking about this morning. Let's start with seizures.
Yeah.
What is a seizure, Dr. Phyllis? As you also introduce yourself properly, I might have left out some very, very great details.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Dr. Phyllis Kimani, and I am a pharmacist. I work in community sector in the UK. I am registered both in Kenya and England as a pharmacist. Further to this, I am the founder of NeuroReach Africa, which is an organization that works to improve the life of families affected by epilepsy. I founded this company as a result of my own experience as a caregiver. I have a child, who has epilepsy, and that informed me, of the gaps that are that we experience as caregivers, and that's where I formed the organization. So back to your question, what is a seizure? Yeah. So a seizure is a sudden burst of electrical activity in the brain. So the best way to understand this is by understanding how does the brain actually work. So it sends little signals systematically through the brain. Yeah. So during a seizure, we have a sudden burst of that electrical activity, and that has physical, it shows up physically as either a generalized shaking, or it can be as simple as just a blank stare. So that is what a seizure is. Yeah. So it is a medical condition of the brain. We understand why it happens. It's that burst of electrical activity. Yeah. And what I'd want anyone out there listening to this is there is a treatment for it.
Oh, great.
Yes.
There is a cure, or just something that can manage it?
Well, to be fair, there are those epilepsies that are maybe only in childhood that the children then outgrow. Yeah. There are those that come later on in life, and after a few years of medication, you then become seizure-free. There are those types of epilepsy as well that are lifelong. So it depends on the type of epilepsy you have.
All right, we'll be getting deeper into that, especially on the issue of treatment, because I know a lot of parents would want to know that. Yeah. But Dr. how are you? Both of you are doctors. So Dr. Nick.
Yes.
Take us through the types of seizures that we have, because I know that they're also different. I was reading through it and I saw we have, different types of epilepsy, or seizures rather. Yes. So tell us how they vary from one to another.
Yeah, so basically the seizures are classified in two broad aspects. We have the partial seizures and we have the generalized seizures. Now, in the partial seizures, we have three types. Yeah. We have the simple partial seizures, we have the complex partial seizures, and we have the simple, complex, generalized partial seizures. Then in the generalized seizures, we have absence seizures, we have the tonic seizures, we have the tonic-clonic seizures, we have the myoclonic jerks, and we have the atonic seizures. So in total, we have 3 types of partial seizures and 6 types of generalized seizures, giving a total of 9 types of seizures. Yes.
So you've given us medical jargon, but I'd love for you to break them down, because one that has caught my attention is it an absent seizure? That one.
Yes.
I don't want to jump the gun onto that, but just to break the medical jargon, walk us through the very critical terms that you mentioned when you're talking about, especially the 6 types of seizures.
Yeah, so the major difference is that in partial seizures, a part of your brain has been affected. In the generalized seizures, the whole brain has been affected. These are excessive electrical discharges, just as you said, that hit the brain that produced them. So literally, it's the shock that happens to the brain because of the electrical discharges that it produced. So I'll start with the partial ones.
Yeah.
In the simple, there's just a movement of a body part. There's no loss of consciousness. In the complex partial, there is a movement of that body part. And there is a loss of consciousness, but a very short loss of consciousness. It's usually below 2 seconds. Yeah. Then we have the simple, complex, generalized. It starts with the body part movement. It goes to the short loss of consciousness. Then the patient falls down.
Yeah.
So it is continuous as time goes. Then we have the generalized one, which are now 6. The absence is where someone just stares blankly, no stiffening, no jerking. After some few minutes, the guy will come back. If you were talking, you'll notice at some point that you are talking to yourself. The guy has gone off. But during that process, when he's not with you, he's not hearing anything and he's not feeling anything. Even if you inflict pain, there will be no response. Yeah, then we have the tonic seizures. There is that loss of consciousness and stiffening of the body, but there is no jerking. Then we have the tonic type, where there is now jerking, but there is no stiffening. Yeah, then we have the tonic-clonic. That is the most common. Everyone knows that as epilepsy, not knowing that there are these others, where there is stiffening, there is jerking, there is tongue biting, there is foaming in the mouth. It is the most common. Some people will call it grand mal. The absence is called petit mal because there is no much activity. Yeah, then we have the myoclonic jerks. Some people will call it juvenile myoclonic jerks because it affects the younger ages. That is the one she was talking about, where they outgrow and it disappears as age continues. Then we have in the myoclonic jerk, it is just a sudden muscle movement. You'll find someone holding a cup, then it just drops. Then we have the atonic seizure, where they limply fall to the ground. No stiffening, no jerking. You look at the patient, it's like he's just sleeping, but you inflict pain, no response. You try to call, there's no response. So those are the physical manifestations of what is happening to the brain.
All right.
Yes.
Dr. Phyllis, when we talk about the absent seizures, the focal seizures, and I'm thinking to myself, have we all had a seizure in our lives? Because sometimes you'd be sitting somewhere and then you're staring in a blank space. Really, nothing is going through your mind. You're not even seeing whatever is happening in the, in the blank space, but it's just a blank space. Nothing is happening. So at some point in our lives, have we all experienced seizures?
I wouldn't want to say that every blank stare that, or any stare that people have had at some point in their life is a seizure, because there are those ways that we diagnose if this is actually a seizure, and that's usually through an EEG. I also want to just, put a disclaimer that in terms of the clinical in-depth understanding of seizures, I think Daktari is better placed. For me, I'm more on the advocacy part. But from my experience, as both as a caregiver and as a pharmacist, I wouldn't want to generally say that if you've had this kind of an experience, that has been a seizure. No, there are those tests that we use to confirm that it is a seizure that has happened. And even with seizures, it's when you have one or more. So it's not only just the one seizure that you would have that then you're labeled, epileptic. So you'd have to have some maybe pattern before it's actually diagnosed as epilepsy. But again, Daktari would be better placed.
Great.
Yes.
Now that you're also, an ambassador and an advocate, a caregiver, I'd love to understand what you think hurts people living with epilepsy the more. I know maybe he or she is still a child, but looking at the experience they've had, what would you say hurts them the most?
The misinformation, the stigma. So I think in Africa as a whole, the condition is not the biggest problem. The misinformation is our biggest problem. So it's still quite unfortunate that in 2026, there's still a lot of people who believe that epilepsy is a curse, it is witchcraft, a child who has epilepsy cannot go to school, cannot marry, you know, further down the line. So those are the things that affect the child more than anything. And I think this also translates to the caregivers, because you know, people say that when you have a seizure, it's the person who's experiencing it is unconscious. The person around the child or individual is the one who takes on that brunt of, you know, the shock and the fear. So I think when you look at what affects the patient the most, I'd say it's a stigma, and also the caregivers who are the ones who are dealing with you know, watching this child go through all that, it also affects them quite a lot. And that is where we as NewReach come in, because after the clinic, after the diagnosis, after the prescription, when your child has been given that diagnosis and told, okay, go home and take this medication, it's when they get home that burden becomes quite heavy, and that's where the support is thinnest. So that's where this organization comes in, and we want to make sure that no one living with epilepsy has to face it alone. Yeah.
Your focus, is it only on the kids, the young children, or are you also looking out for the adults who are living with epilepsy?
Definitely. We're looking at everybody, because even the adults, there's still the community around them that supports them. So it is from the children having the epilepsy, the adults, and their families. So we are looking at everyone and how to support them best, because it's a community illness. It's not in isolation.
All right. Dr. Nick, let's talk about the causes of epilepsy. And, you know, somebody might think, because she mentioned something about it being a curse, some people might say that this is a curse, of course, just surrounded by the stigma around epilepsy. So how would you explain it to somebody who maybe their neighbor has a child with epilepsy, or maybe they themselves have, you know, they've given birth to a child with epilepsy? What causes these seizures that are epileptic?
Yeah, so as she rightfully said, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions that are associated with epilepsy. So the beliefs that epilepsy is as a result of a curse, it's as a result of witchcraft, it's as a result of demon possession, is what is making the stigma propel so much. So we usually insist on categorizing the causes into three broad aspects. We have the causes during the prenatal stage, when the mother is still pregnant. We have the causes during the natal stage, during the process of delivery. And we have the causes that happen postnatal, just after delivery. Then we have the causes that happen during adulthood and the normal lifespan. So at the prenatal stage, we usually insist on mothers who are pregnant to go to health facilities for antenatal clinics. This is where we will look at what is known as ANC profile. We will look at other conditions that the mother might have. We have situations like STIs. We have other conditions like HIV. Then we have even TB. That will be looked at during pregnancy. We have other conditions that the pregnant mother needs to go through the scans, the obstetric scans. We might identify microcephaly, the small head. We might identify hydrocephaly, the big head. So these clinic visits are important so that we monitor the mother's health condition and we monitor the fetus health condition. Both of them, both health conditions will affect that fetus at delivery. So we insist that mothers should go to health facilities for their ANC profiles, and after that follow-up, we have to ensure that they have a delivery plan. The delivery plan is usually that we insist on 100% hospital delivery. The reason why we are insisting on 100% hospital delivery is to make sure that this process of delivery is safe and secure, in that if there was any issue like prolonged labor, it can be identified at the hospital. Prolonged labor cannot be identified at home. If we have issues where the safety of the fetus is very important during that process of delivery, we don't want trauma. The child might fall during the process of delivery if not delivered in the right environment. So we ensure that the process of delivery is safe. Then at the postnatal level, we are looking at immunizations. There are conditions that will cause epilepsy if not managed properly. So we have issues like meningitis. We have issues like malaria. We also have TB. If the immunization is not done properly, we might have patients having seizures. Then we have the biggest cause of seizures that are not related to children. Most people assume that everyone with epilepsy was born with epilepsy.
Yeah.
That's not the case. Most of the cases we have of epilepsy are due to head injuries or road traffic accidents.
Yeah.
So that is why we use a holistic approach to the management. We ensure that we talk to the community. They understand what causes epilepsy. Everyone with a brain is a candidate of epilepsy, because every condition that will interfere with your brain function can expose you to epilepsy. So it is a holistic approach, where that is why we do awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness is very important in making sure that we don't have new cases. Once they understand the causes, they will understand on how to prevent themselves from having new cases. So it starts from the community. So we do a lot of awareness, then we do some treatment, and we do follow-up. So the community should be aware that epilepsy first is a treatable medical condition.
Yeah.
After being aware that it's a treatable medical condition, you have to ensure that the facilities around them are capable of managing the condition that you're saying is treatable. Once you make sure that the facilities are capable, you will be able to manage these patients and do follow-up, and there will be seizure control. We don't expect 100% seizure control. Out of everyone that will go to the facilities, we are expecting that 70% will be completely sorted. Of course, there is the 30% that will have some issues, but a 70% seizure control is a good percentage.
Great, great. We're learning. And I wanted to just understand this 30% when you're talking about there would be some sort of challenges, you know, in achieving the 100% seizure control and treatment. What entirely is wrong with this 30%? What are the gaps? What is the problem?
Yeah, so basically when you start management, there are rules and instructions that you'll be giving out. Yeah, of course, not everyone will follow the instructions. There are trigger factors that will lead you to having seizures. So we have a lot of instructions on trigger factors, what to avoid, what to do, and what not to do. Then we have seizures that come with other comorbidities. A person has epilepsy, and he has, let's say, cerebral palsy. A person has epilepsy, he has, let's say, autism. He has epilepsy, and he still has Down syndrome. You see, these are conditions that will make it difficult to control the seizures. So with some of them, we'll tell them, we will reduce the seizures to the lowest level possible. But we will advise you that it might not go completely. But our main communication is, we have people who have been treated and have gone seizure-free for like 3 years without any seizure. We taper down the medication until they get to a zero medication point where they are no longer taking medication. So we've achieved that, and that is why we always insist that it is a treatable medical condition.
Great. Dr. Phyllis, you know, he mentioned something about the awareness, why, you know, as medical, what is it called? Experts in the medicine industry, medical industry, you doctors, you champion for awareness around epilepsy. So what is the status of awareness as far as epilepsy is concerned across the country?
There's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. And I think for ourselves at NeuroReach, what I focused on was children. Because what I've realized is adults already have their ideas of what epilepsy is. And it's quite difficult, in as much as we are doing all this community engagement, to educate. Sometimes it's very difficult to explain to an adult that this is not a curse. This, you know, because the myths are thousands of years old. We have inherited our ideas about what this condition is from our churches, from our backgrounds. So what we focused on are children, because children don't have any fixed ideologies about it. So if we were to teach children from a young age that this is just a medical condition like any other, there's no need to fear it. If this happens, these are the first aid steps. In very simple language, then we will have a general, like a generation change or a generation shift, starting from the young, you know, and in the next 50 years, hopefully, stigma will not be such a big problem as it is now. Can I just add on to what
Absolutely.
Dr. Ari was saying? When we talk about the 30% who are not controlled on medication, there's also the issue of refractory epilepsy, where standard medication is not suitable. And at NeuroReach, we actually have research into emerging therapies for those kind of patients. So these are therapies that are available in other countries and are not as well understood in Kenya and Africa. So things like ketogenic diet, things like cannabinoids. So this one is a bit of a tricky one because most people associate cannabis use or, in the social aspect, but cannabinoids are an extract from that can be used in epilepsy, and they've been used in countries like America, England, for quite a while now. So for those difficult to treat epilepsies, there are those newer treatment options that we're looking into and understanding how can we bring them into Kenya, how can we make our healthcare workers aware, make them aware that these options are available. There is an issue of cost as well, because obviously being newer treatments, they can be quite costly. So these are all conversations that we're all having and seeing how to ensure that these 30% are not left behind.
What does therapy look like on ground?
Therapy in terms of
epilepsy, because you mentioned something about,
right.
You are recommending therapy when you're talking about the cannabis.
Yes.
And how it helps, as a form of treatment in some countries.
Yeah.
Then talking about therapy in itself, because when you say therapy, somebody might think, the way therapies are done for patients who maybe have spine injuries.
Oh.
For epilepsy therapy, how does that look like?
So first we'll talk about the treatment. Treatment, out of all the people who have epilepsy, it's only about 30% who receive the treatment, right? So 70% are not receiving treatment, and up to 90% in rural areas are not receiving treatment, So only about 10% are getting the treatment. Now, when I say therapy, it's not like physiotherapy. I meant, like it's a medication that you ingest. So it's just a different type of drug treatment, and these are the novel treatments, the newer ones that we're talking about that are extracts from the cannabis or cannabinoids.
Great.
Yes.
Dr. Nick, talk to us about the trigger factors of epilepsy, because you started on that point, but if you could just expound more on that, what are the triggers of epilepsy?
Yeah, so most of the time we will put patients on medication. Then we usually advise them on, there are some things that if you do, you will still have seizures. So you'll still look for ways on how to manage that. We have general feeling tired. A person with epilepsy is supposed to work, but he's not supposed to go to the strenuous level where he feels that he needs to push more. Once you feel tired, we advise you to rest. A person with epilepsy is supposed to have enough sleep, which is about 6 to 8 hours of sleep. A person with epilepsy should not go without food. Because if you go without food, you might have a seizure. A person with epilepsy should not experience extreme emotions. You get too excited, you'll have a seizure. You get too angry, you'll have a seizure. We have other infections, like let's say you have epilepsy and you still have a typhoid, for example. You'll have a seizure. Even flu can lead you into a seizure. We always insist on take the medications as prescribed. Don't take medications when you feel like. Some people go seizure-free and they become comfortable. So they only take the medication when they are feeling the signs. The medication process is strict. It is at an exact time, and it is daily until we start tapering down. So follow our instructions to the letter. We have alcohol and drug use, which will affect and interact with the process of medications. So we always insist that make sure that you identify the type of trigger that you have. Different people, different triggers. Some people will be triggered by extreme light. Some people will be triggered by sudden, unexpected sounds. And some will also be affected by, let's say, depression. They will have triggers. So first identify your trigger, understand your body, then you'll be able to manage epilepsy easily.
You mentioned something about lights, because I hear that lights is a very big trigger to people with epilepsy and any type of seizure.
Yeah, so there are people who we say are extra reactive to light. They react to the photo aspect of light. So once you identify that when you are in an environment where you are flickering lights, the most one that affect them is the flickering lights. When they flicker like that, they will affect your brain and trigger it into producing excess electrical discharges. These excess electrical discharges will lead you into a seizure. Yeah.
Dr. Phyllis, your child, is she a girl or is he a boy?
She's a girl.
It's a she.
Yes.
So you mentioned something about sometimes with epilepsy and seizures that a child might outgrow it.
Yeah.
Then perhaps will she outgrow it?
Yes, well, the doctors who have seen her, we've been fortunate enough to have a few consultants look at her case, and she has what is called generalized epilepsy febrile seizure plus. So what I'd explain that is, there's a lot of febrile seizures that happen. Those are seizures that happen when your fever goes quite high, and these usually happen between the ages of 0 to 6. And most children outgrow those seizures at the age of 6. Below 6, we don't call it epilepsy. It's just febrile seizures, which are usually very benign, they are self-limiting. After the age of 6, if they continue, then now we start to look into why is this happening. So with her case, her febrile seizures extended past the age of 6. And we are told that, you know, by the age of about 15, when she gets into her teens, she's expected to outgrow them. So as Dr. Ari mentioned, for her, it's always the fever. So, you know, when she was younger, I tried to explain it to her, like, you just have an allergy to fever, you know? So her brain, anytime she had a high fever, it would trigger. However, with the medication that she's on now, she's under control. But of course, when she's running a viral infection, we just have to be a bit more cautious and just make sure that we're keeping her fever as low as possible.
Talk to us about her diagnosis.
Yeah.
What did you see? What did you notice that was quite abnormal before, of course, you went to the emergency room?
So first of all, I'll say I am a pharmacist. I have a master's degree. I learned about seizures in school, but you know, as you're studying, you study as you read and do your exams. But when my daughter had her first seizure, I was in a hotel in Mombasa. It was on holiday. It was about 2 in the morning, and I did not know what was happening to my child. It was a very scary time for me. And, you know, I thought the worst had happened and my child was dying. But when we got to hospital, of course, her fever was still high, and the doctors were like, no, this is a seizure. But again, you know, when you learn something from a textbook and it happens real life, there was a lot of shock with that. And that is what made me, you know, a few weeks later, I thought to myself, with my degree, with my access to a hospital, I was still panicked. What about that mother in Wajir who has never studied anything like this, who doesn't have that access to a doctor? So that was kind of the thing that made me start thinking about doing something more to help people, you know, experiencing seizures. So the seizures began. We were told, you know, it's a simple febrile seizure. There was no medication at that point. But what then happened is she continued to have seizures anytime she had a fever. So by the time she was getting to school-going age, I remember when she first joined kindergarten, and, you know, that's where now you get a lot of infections. The doctors said, you know, now, in as much as they're coming with a fever, we need to step in because you can't keep having them this frequently. And we agreed to the treatment, and she was seizure-free from the time we gave her the medication.
Great.
Yeah. However, when we tried to wean her off, you know, we had some issues. So again, we continued on, and we've agreed that until she gets to her teens, give her brain some time, you know, to develop and withstand the fevers.
I hope that story gives hope to, you know, I hope to a parent who's watching right now and is living the same story as you. Yeah. But Dr. Nick, what should parents look out for? Because, you know, for Dr. Phyllis here, she went to school for that. You know, at least she has some nitty-gritties on what is, you know, what could be the problem with my child. But for parents who totally have no idea about, you know, what a seizure looks like, what should they be on the lookout for? Yeah,
first of all, not all seizures are as a result of epilepsy. So you have to identify the type of what is causing a seizure. So as you said, For us to diagnose epilepsy, it has to be 2 or more unprovoked seizures. We usually give a span of like 1 year. You're having seizures which cannot be explained. So once you have a seizure, go to a health facility. They can clearly identify and give you a proper diagnosis. The problem is trying to make a diagnosis at home. It might bring a lot of challenges. So once you identify, you go to a health facilities, it is identified, because as I said, there are 9. Once they identify the type that you have, that is when they will give you the right medication. The most important thing is the misconceptions and the myths around epilepsy.
Yeah.
There is a lot that should be done about awareness. Our main problem is awareness. Once we identify the awareness, we sort the awareness part, most of the patients will go to facilities. Because when one comes, when a patient has a seizure, the first thing is witchcraft, demon possession. So the thought of going to the hospital comes last.
Yeah.
So that is where the biggest problem is. Take patients to the health facilities when they have a seizure, so that it can properly be identified at that place. Only 80% of patients, only 20% of patients with epilepsy come to health facilities. 80% are still in the field.
Yeah.
And they are being taken round to witch doctors, to being prayed for, and that is not really helping. Because instead of them being productive in the society, they are being taken as totally dependent persons in the society. Persons with epilepsy can work and do anything just like any other person if given proper management and if accepted within the community. We have issues with acceptability within the community. These people are neglected. These people are not allowed to do what other people can do. They are even chased from schools. They struggle to get jobs because it is believed that one, if he has a seizure here, if we touch him, we will have the condition. It is not contagious. Yeah. The one thing that should come out very clear is that epilepsy is not contagious, and not all epilepsy is genetic. Not if a parent has epilepsy, it's not a must that the children will have epilepsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the health-seeking behavior is as low as you put it for people with epilepsy, then does that translate to children as well, or is it just only, for the adults? Because I'm thinking for parents, if your child has, epileptic seizures, then it will be a cause for alarm for you as a parent. Then the poor health-seeking behavior, is it across the board?
Yes, it's across the board. Because one, the community believes that a seizure is associated with demon possession. So when that shake happens, the first thing is calling someone so that we pray for the child. That will lead to this child not being taken to a health facility. So once we demystify the myths, the whole idea is taking these patients from the community to the health facilities. That is why we are working with, Askawe, we are working with the community health promoters, because they are the link between the community and the health facility, so that they help us in identifying persons with epilepsy and these seizures within the community, so that they can refer them to the nearest health facility possible. The reason why we insist on the nearest health facility possible is because we are pushing towards epilepsy being managed at the primary health care level. Because most of the time a person has a seizure, you take them to that primary health care level, the first thing the person they meet at the health facility will refer them to a higher facility. What will that do to the patient? One, the referral process is expensive. They will need transportation to the higher level. Secondly, to that higher level, they will need a higher consultation fee. So what will they opt for? The community, the witch doctors who will only ask for chicken, who will only ask for the basic things that they have. So our main activity is usually making sure that the community is aware. And we do this through, we have programs where we talk to the community members. We talk to the chiefs, we talk to the Nyumba Kumi personnel, we talk to the general gatekeepers within the community. Once they understand that this is a medical condition, they will talk to their members. Even the religious team we talk to them to make sure that they act as a referral point to the facilities, because we want that transition from the community to the facility. Once that happens, we will be able to reduce the treatment gap. At the primary health care facility, where we had a challenge of them being referred to a higher level, we are also doing primary health care providers trainings for these providers to be able to identify epilepsy so that they can also treat it at this level, and seizure control can be achieved at this level. Then at that point, we also have another challenge that comes in, where they will tell you that our health facilities, we are well prepared, we are able to diagnose and give treatment, but we don't have the equipment and the required medication for this. And this will happen because during budgeting is done with the statistics and numbers. You can't request for a budget on a condition that has no patients. So why is it that when you go to these facilities, they'll tell you that they don't have patients? Because they are unable to diagnose. They have patients, but they didn't make the proper diagnosis. So the data is lost. So we take them through the training. Once they can identify it, the data will be there. Then they'll request for the budget that they want for the required things that should be in their facility. This is done through the county health management team. Once the county health management team has done this budgeting, it goes to the county assembly. Once it goes to the county assembly, this person at the county assembly who is supposed to approve this budget will not approve a budget if he believes that epilepsy is a curse or as a result of witchcraft. So we go to the county assembly health committee and we do advocacy, where we inform them that epilepsy is a treatable medical condition. We take them through the whole process. Once they understand that, they can easily approve the budgets. And these health facilities down here will be well stocked, and people with epilepsy will get the management that they require at the facility where they are, so that we reduce this upward referral that is making us lose a lot of patients.
Great. Would you say epilepsy is a disability, Dr. Phyllis, or would you want it to be classified as that? If you're talking about, sometimes it's hard to get budget, as Dr. Nick puts it, for patients with epilepsy. So would you say it's a disability?
It is a disability, and in Kenya it is recognized as a disability. So I think people are used to the idea that to be disabled you have to physically look disabled. But I'll give you an example. If you're getting maybe a seizure once a month, for those who are not, very well controlled, in that moment that you're having that seizure, your life stops. You'll have to have, a day of recovery or 2 days of recovery. So that condition has basically made you unable to go to work. It has made you unable to go to school. So you are limited by your condition. So I am quite happy that in Kenya it is recognized as a disability, and that those steps that the government has made to help in terms of medication costs. I just found out recently that if you are disabled, if you have this disability card, you can actually get a car without the tax. So there are those things that the government has put in place for it. Having said that, there's still a lot more we need to do in terms of, as he's saying, the education, because even the people who are higher up the hierarchy, the policymakers, not everyone has bought into this idea that this is a cause, this is a medical condition that we know the cause and there is a treatment. So that message has to be repeated time and again.
Dr. Nick, how many epileptologists do we have in this country? It's my first time interacting with an epileptologist, because, okay, we've had a conversation before, but looking at how, diagnosis is done, how treatment is done for people with epilepsy, do we have qualified personnel for that?
Yes, we have qualified personnel, but again, the number is so low. Consider the first thought when a person has epilepsy is the thought of they need to go to a consultant neurologist. We only have between 16 to 25 consultant neurologists in the country, and these are the people we are expecting to handle all cases of epilepsy within the country in a population that is approximately above 1 million. so they will not be able to manage that. And that is why we are insisting that the management of epilepsy should be brought to the primary healthcare level, so that many people can access this management, and they can comfortably, they can easily get the management that they require, because the upward referral is our biggest weakness. And in the upward referral also, we have a shortage of those who are able to manage the condition. That is why, as the Kenya Association for the Welfare of People with Epilepsy, we do, we call them continuous medical education to the primary healthcare practitioners, so that we have more people who can manage epilepsy, because at the current situation we have very few health personnel who can manage epilepsy, and that is why we are pushing for the primary healthcare level, so that we can use our community health promoters. They refer to the nearest health facilities through awareness trainings. We have trainings for primary healthcare providers, and in that process we will make epilepsy treatment gap, we will reduce the treatment gap from 80% to
100%.
Yes.
So you're saying there is a personnel, but the number is quite low. That's what you're saying, yeah?
Yes.
I want to understand why you're so passionate about epilepsy.
Because epilepsy is one of the most neglected health conditions in this country, and even in our study system, epilepsy was not given the seriousness that it deserves. It was something that was just brushed across, and that is where we even get the challenge where the budgeting can easily be diverted to other conditions that are termed more serious as compared to epilepsy, while most persons with epilepsy are having a lot of challenges. The fact that epilepsy is neglected is making persons with epilepsy be seen as a burden to the community. There was a research done just the other day on case investment on mental conditions, and the result of that research was that epilepsy has the highest return on investment. If you spend a shilling on a person with epilepsy, you will get a return of about 5.5. So don't look at that expenditure on epilepsy as just an expenditure. Take it as an investment on something that will give good returns. If this person is well treated and the seizures are well controlled, he will be able to go to school, he will be able to work, he will be able to have a family. And in that process, he will be able to be part of the community development. He will pay taxes, and he will not be as dependent as people assume them to be. So let's empower these people. Let's give them that opportunity to work just like any other person. Let us give them a chance to have a normal life just like any other person, because they are very productive only if given that chance and if given the opportunity to live their life just like any other person.
Great. Dr. Phyllis, you've written books, for people with epilepsy, and I can see them here on the table. Tell us more about what you've written and why.
So again, this came from my own experience, with my daughter, because it got to a point where her sister started asking, what's happening to our sister? Is she going to be okay? And as a pharmacist, I know what is happening, but explaining it to a child in words that, that they would understand, I started looking all over the place for simple books, storybooks. And it was shocking that none existed in Africa. So I ended up getting, through various means, they were coming from America, from Britain. And those storybooks don't have pictures that look like our own children. So again, I thought to myself, we have specific needs as Africa, as Kenya. We have specific stigmas and misconceptions. We want books that have, faces like our children. So I decided to write a book. And our books, actually, there's 3 of them. So this one is called My Friend Amani. So My Friend Amani is for the youngest of our readers. So starting from age 4 to about 6, very simple sentences. And what it does, it teaches first aid in a very simple way. It explains what a seizure is in a very simple way that a child can understand. And the other one is The Day the Purple Kite Flew. So this one is for ages about 6 years to 10 years, a bit of a more complex storyline. But when it comes to the seizure management, it's still very simple first aid steps. At the back, we have information for parents, just to understand the condition better. And again, the reason I thought of a book is one book can teach a child, it can teach the classroom, it can teach the teacher, it can teach the family. And, you know, when a seizure happens, it is a frightening situation. So I wanted very simple steps that can be remembered even in those situations. So not to to simplify it as much as possible. The other thing with these books is that I have worked with neurologists to write them. So they have approved the writing, they have approved the first aid, so that whatever we are sending out is correct and it is accurate. Yeah.
All right, great. Walk us through, Dr. Nick, what someone should do when someone else, you know, has a seizure, especially, you know, teachers, you know, in schools and their fellow, you know, learners as well. You know, when they see a friend of theirs has a seizure, you know, they're down. What are the first steps towards first aid?
Yeah, so I like the idea that you've given an example of school.
Yeah.
Because that is where there's most of the crisis. Because one, a person with a seizure in a school has a seizure. That class is disrupted. Number one, the patients will run away. No, the students will run away, and it will be a whole confusion. These students will go to the parent and they talk about what they experienced at school. The reaction to that parent is coming to the school and insisting on the school head that if this child stays here, ours will go. If you decide that these students will be here, we will not be having our students in a school where there's a person with devilish tendencies, they call it that, a demon possession tendencies. Then the head teacher will be forced to write an official letter taking this child out of school. You've infringed on the right of this person of schooling, so you will not be in school. So we usually insist on persons with epilepsy should be allowed to be in normal school just like any other person, and they should be allowed to learn just like any other person. The special school aspect only comes in when they have other comorbidities, which I had talked about initially. Yeah. So to maintain them in school, the school should be equipped on what to do when a seizure happens. So once, we always insist that you should not panic. Once you panic, that is when the class is disrupted, everybody runs away. So once you don't panic, you are composed, you ensure that the environment is safe. If there are things that would have injured the person who's had a seizure, you just push them away. If there are desks, you just create a space for the person with epilepsy. Then after that, we usually insist on time the seizure. A seizure that is below 5 minutes is okay. Any seizure above 5 minutes is an emergency. So that is when you need a medical attention. But within the 5 minutes, you're still okay. So after ensuring the environment is safe, your patient is having seizures, so that movement is vigorous. Ensure that the head is safe. Head being safe is that you might not have a pillow, but you are wearing a jacket. Remove the jacket, put it under the head so that the head is not banged on the ground. The next thing is if they are wearing a tie like mine, you loosen them. If they are wearing tight belts, you loosen them, but don't overexpose the patient again. So after making sure that the patient is safe, the head is protected, you allow the process to continue. Some will try to restrain the patients on the ground. Don't try to restrain the patients. Some will try putting things in their mouth. Don't put any spoons in their mouth. The spoon is the most common culprit. So don't put anything in their mouth. The reason why you're not putting anything in their mouth is because when you are putting that spoon in their mouth, you are forcing the spoon in that teeth that is already cringed. There are chances of breaking the jaw because you're forcing it in there. There are chances of breaking the tooth. So ensure that you don't put anything, and they put that thing assuming that they are protecting them from biting their tongue. By the time you get that spoon, the tongue biting has already happened. So what you'll be doing is introducing infection to the already bitten tongue. Some will argue that they will swallow their tongue. Have you ever met someone without a tongue?
That's crazy. I have never. Are there people without tongues?
No.
Right.
So the assumption that you can swallow your tongue is never there. So they can't swallow their tongue. In case they get the tongue injuries, you just manage the normal wound management process. And if it's severe, you take it to the health facility and they'll be managed properly, but don't put anything in their tongue. Some pour water on them assuming that it will stop the seizure. Don't pour water, don't put anything in their nose, because this will only make the process worse. Allow the process to continue. It will take like 3 minutes. When it stops, put the person in recovery position. The recovery position is laying them by their side, so that in case there is any fluid or any vomitus that was coming from the mouth, it drains outwards. There is that head tilt upwards, so that they can also breathe properly. The whole idea is that you ensure that they are not choking and they are breathing. After some few minutes, the seizure will stop. They will wake, but when they are awake, assess the consciousness aspect. They might be awake and not yet conscious. So the consciousness, you check for person, time, and place. What's your name? If he's conscious, he will tell you the name. Where are we? We'll look around. We'll identify the place or what time of the day it is. They will identify, is it morning, is it afternoon, is it evening? So that is how you assess the consciousness. Once you are certain that they are conscious enough, now explain to them what happened. Consider that whole process is not recorded anywhere in their brain. They are having a seizure, the brain is electrocuted, so there is nothing recorded. It's you to explain to them that this and this and this happened. After that, they will tell you, I have been using medication. Maybe they will tell you, today I didn't take my medication. That is why it has happened. So you'll just talk to them about the importance of adhering to the medication. Then you'll ensure that you hand them over to a responsible person. If they have a phone, you call a person, so that you don't leave them alone again. Because there are dangers of the seizures coming again. So once you do that, you are okay.
Very great insights, and we are happy to learn this morning. We've come to the end of the show, but I'd love for you to give us a parting shot, your call to action, Dr. Phyllis, and you'll wrap up the show for us.
Fantastic. Thank you for having us. And I think I just want to summarize what my colleague has said in 4 simple steps. Number 1, stay. Stay with the person. Number 2, safe. Keep the person safe. Number 3, side. Place them on their side. And number 4, sidea. Ask for help if it lasts more than 4 minutes. 4 S's, simple steps, and we can fight the stigma. We can end the misinformation. So it starts with each one of us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phyllis Kimani, an epilepsy advocate, and of course, Dr. Nicholas Otieno, a clinical epileptologist. That is quite a mouthful, Nick. Thank you guys for making time for us this morning. My takeaway is that not a single seizure automatically means the person has epilepsy, and epilepsy, of course, is not a curse. We've come to the end of this segment. We're talking about what every parent and what you as a society should know about epilepsy, seizures, and how you can help people experiencing seizures. You're watching TV47 Breakfast. Don't go too far, because Freddie's coming back with a conversation on innovation from ideas to impact. Sami Chepkwony will be here with Freddie for that conversation. I'll see you after that conversation on innovation for another conversation. A packed show for you right here at TV47 Breakfast. Do stay with us, and we'll see you on the other side of this break.